Professor Başak OZAN OZPARLAK. Yeah, it's the University Özyeğin University, Turkey. Is here. Hi, Başak.
Hi, Paula. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Now I will introduce to her. She will talk about the regulatory frameworks for responsible AI in global 6G development. Dr. Başak OZAN is an assistant professor at Özyeğin University Faculty of Law in IT Law. She earned her bachelor degree from Marmara University Faculty of Law, followed by Master in Union Europe Law and PhD in private law from the same university. Science 2016. Dr. OZPARLAK has been active in both industry and academia, focusing on the legal and regulatory aspects of emerging technologies, such as AI, human-robot interaction, and legal aspects of the next-gen 5G, 6G wireless technologies. Her research interests include data protection and privacy, AI and law, cybersecurity law, 5G, 6G privacy and security. In 2023, she joined Özyeğin University as a full-time faculty member, where she continues to contribute to the field through research, teaching, and participation in international projects. She received Özyeğin University Excellence in Research Award in June 2025. Congratulations. She has listed as one of the 100 women in 6G in 2025 list. Welcome, Professor Başak. And his presentation is Regulatory Frameworks for Responsible AI in Global 6G Development. Welcome, Başak.
Thank you so much, Paula, for organizing and presenting this conference, this event. And can you see my screen, full screen?
Yeah, we can see, but no share, no full share. It's just the slides.
Okay, maybe I can share the PDF version. Let me do it. And by the way, let me thank you again and all the Ensure partners and everyone here with us today. And with Ensure 6G under working group 3 with Galit and Brecken, we are tackling with the regulatory and ethical aspects of 6G and secure and private 6G. Let me try again. I'm sorry. All my screens are open actually, but if I cannot, I can go on without slide also and share the slides with you later. I don't want.
Yeah, but you can share. I don't know if you convert to PDF, maybe.
Yes. I have PDF also. Let me try once more.
Okay. Let's try.
Okay.
Then you go for a full screen. Is there in like that icon down right? Is like a cup next to the Zoom.
Yeah, I pushed it, but it did not.
But it's not.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
See, I can see your screen, but it's completely screen with a PowerPoint. But it's no just a slide.
I think it's well visible actually. So if you want to,
it's okay.
Keep that. There's no issues.
Okay,
I think it's almost full screen, so we are happy with that.
Thank you. And it's so hot in Istanbul here. And hello everyone again. And my presentation will be about regulatory frameworks for responsible AI for global deployment of 6G. First of all, let me begin with what do we mean when we say responsible AI? Actually, we're not supposed to say, and we don't mean here that we will confer rights and liabilities or responsibilities to AI systems itself, but we are here underlining the fact that since AI to be trustworthy, we have to govern it in a responsible way. And it is so crucial for 6G deployment in a global sense, because 6G, as also Shen underlined, the fact that will be an AI-enabled network. And in International Telecommunications Union report about IMT 2030, they also underscored that AI is at the core of the future communication system, and there will be continuous, always, and ubiquitous data processing all the time, and that will be mostly by AI itself. And also there will be some, as again Shen underlined, that there will be some heterogeneous devices and data sources. So it will be so hard if we cannot tackle these responsible AI questions and challenges from now on. So, as we all know that if we begin with the EU legal framework, there are a plethora of regulations and legislative frameworks and some others upcoming. And so, but of course, when we are talking about AI, the first thing comes to our mind in the legislative sense is the EU's AI Act, which is the most comprehensive act in the global text, and this is the first one that covers AI in so many ways. But before that, we have to check what do we mean again by responsible AI. And legislative frameworks, actually, without some fundamental ethical foundations, they are like empty hardwares. If we cannot embed them, if we cannot find some fundamentals, ethical fundamentals, they will not give us their aim. They will not that much effective. So we have to first put an ethical framework, ethical baseline before taking one more step and to go through creating a brand new legislative framework. So the EU regulator followed this way, and in 2019, an ethical guidelines for trustworthy AI has been shared with the public, and it has been created by some independent experts by the European Commission, and there are some 6 or 7 fundamentals, ethical fundamentals for trustworthy AI, which are also important for responsible governance of AI systems and models. And these ethical framework, which involves 7 ethical principles, will followed by some other international and national bodies when they are creating their own ethical framework. For example, OECD, we will check later on. And some other national...
Sorry, Başak, can I just check with you? Are you flipping through slides? Because we're still
No.
on the first one.
No,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay, sorry.
Yeah,
I thought you were already on the second one. Sorry for jumping in.
I didn't want to write many things, but thank you so
Okay.
much. Okay, and these ethical principles, some of them are human oversight, robustness, which covers cybersecurity as well, and privacy, respect to privacy and data governance, transparency, human oversight, accountability, and diversity, and non-discrimination and fairness. So these are fundamentals in order for us to steer an AI as in a responsible way. But again, we have to say that who are going to responsible from the harms that AI can pose? All the bodies and all the deployers and providers, and also the national or international bodies, not the AI systems, of course, themselves. So when we check the EU's digital framework, actually, coming from the AI Act, GDPR for data protection, Data Governance Act, how we can share data between institutions to give some services. For example, if we are to creating an AI service, AI system, or a product for in health sector, we have to get some data from health domain. So how can we do this with respect to GDPR at the same time. So Data Governance Act covers this framework. When we come to Data Act is also important for 6G because it covers the data flow, both personal and non-personal, within the Internet of Things ecosystem. And when we come to the Digital Market Act, they also tries to limit the powers of big monopolies. They try to limit the monopolistic structures in the digital market also, including AI. And Digital Services Act here also, if we are to make AI, if we are to use and develop AI in a responsible way, we have to ensure that it is within alliance with cybersecurity regulatory framework also. And when we look at the EU's regulatory framework, in this sense, the first and one of the most important regulatory framework is NIS2 directive. And it is actually an evolution from the first one of this. But this one, NIS2 directive, covers also and is adopted in 2022, by the way, and is applicable in 2024. And it anymore covers some technological breakthroughs and connectivity needs and capacities like 5G and beyond. And it is for improved security with digital aspects. And Cyber Resilience Act also so important because it is also enforced since December 2024, and it will be fully enforced by 2027, 3 years before the global deployment plans, at least, of 6G in 2030. So what does Cyber Resilience Act brings here? It promotes core fundamental standards for cybersecurity, beginning from the design phase. It is so important. And it involves all the products with digital elements, including AI embedded software. And again, in the sense of cybersecurity, of course, we have, which was published in 2020, the Cybersecurity Act, which involves the cybersecurity certificate framework. And it will be much more important during 6G global deployment because maybe in this soon or in the long term, in some critical infrastructures or in some critical sectors, some products or services will require high-level cyber resilience, cybersecurity certificate to be enabled to enter into market. And ENISA in 2020 published 5G related threat report actually, but it didn't involve yet some societal or legal threat. But from now on, we know that, and as Ensure 6G project also focuses also one side here, and social and legal risk also important for technical aspects also, in the sense of compliance and in the sense of responsible AI deployment. And also technical side is vital for legal scholars because we cannot understand the technical side, but for example, in order to have some checklists and risk assessments, we need technical domains side. So it is very important to bring some interdisciplinary works together like it is in Ensure 6G for responsible AI before deployment of the 6G in global sense. And if we are to look at AI Act more closely, maybe you all know that it follows a risk-based approach and it has a general scope. What do I mean by that? It's like the GDPR scope actually. Even if you are some non-member EU country and you are planning to put your product into market or put your service into the market, and if your product or service is embedded by AI or is to just a software, AI software, you have to follow and you have to be in compliance with EU AI Act rules and mechanisms. So it is a general application scope. It is much more important than, it's not just about the EU's regulatory boundaries. And The main aim actually in the AI Act is not to protect fundamental rights and freedoms. The main aim is
Sorry,
to improve.
Başak, sorry to jump in again, but the slides are not changing at all.
Yes.
So we are still
yeah.
on this first slide, and I think we should be on slide 5, right?
Yes. Yes.
So maybe you are sharing the wrong screen. Do you have 2 screens?
No, one screen, but
Yeah.
it happened to me.
Now it's perfect. So now we on slide 4.
Okay, I'm not in the full screen for me also. Okay, you can see now.
Sorry, I got
Yes,
it.
we on slide 5 now. Yes.
Is it changing?
Now it's changing. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay,
Bye.
fantastic.
Thanks. Yes, for example, EU's AI Act is not focused on protecting fundamental rights and freedoms. It wants to serve for the European market's resilience, but it is vital and it depends on fundamental rights and freedoms of EU Charter and as well as the ethical framework, ethical guidelines for trustworthy AI that has been established in 2019 by Expert Committee of the European Union. And here, before getting to the transparency, I would like to underline one fact also. We know that GDPR is the main regulatory tool for the European Union in order to protect data protection and provide privacy also. On the other hand, now we have the AI Act, but although they are separate regulatory framework, they are separate regulations, we know that from the recital, from the blatant and explicit wording of the AI Act that they are not excluding each other. For example, in Recital 9, the AI Act explicitly says that this act, the AI Act, is complementary to the GDPR when it comes to data processing by AI. So the GDPR is still fundamental for data protection and ensuring privacy for the data processing which is being done by AI systems or models. And AI Act also vital for market and also for depending on the fundamental rights and freedoms. So they are in hand, we can say. NIS2, I had referred before, but NIS2 covers all the telecommunications sector, and it's too important for 6G global deployment also. Security by design and by default, for example, end-to-end encryption comes with it. And due diligence for assessing whether your suppliers are in compliance with this framework also is important. So here again, I underline the necessary comparison between technical domain and legal domain. And there have to be a risk management for covered entities. And there are also 10 minimum measures like legality by design, including also technical sides, for example, cryptography, training, etc. And also there is Radio Equipment Directive, and Radio Equipment Directive is also linked with deployment of 6G, and it involves some provisions for radio equipment, and ensure that personal data and privacy of the user are protected. And here comes also, again, the Cybersecurity Act. I mentioned it's one of the most important aspects as it will bring us some cybersecurity certification scheme soon. It is vital for 6G to be reliable and trustworthy and responsible, used in a responsible way, so that we can show that if we are preferring a product or a service as a deployer or as a user for individual users or for commercial users, we can see easily and we can detect easily which product or service involving AI is much more resilient. And so maybe we can prefer this one thanks to the cybersecurity certification when it comes to life. Also, there is another regulatory framework in the sense of EU's regulatory framework. A new product liability directive is very important because unlike the other one, unlike the precedent one, software and AI is now included to the product liability directive. And it is also indirectly linked with 6G. Why? Because there are some tips here. For example, if you are a non-technical user for a system, for a product, which involves AI, for example, and you think that you are as a person, you get harmed because of this product's deficit, but you cannot prove it because it is too technical, and you're a non-technical person. Even you're a technical person, maybe you cannot put forward some proofs in order to prove fault or causation between the deficit and the harm. So the regulator here brings us that if there is a technological complexity, and which will be assessed in case-by-case situations by the judge, and if there's a complex structure of the product, for example, as innovative medical device, you can assume it, for example, a brain-machine interface device that will be deployed in 6G, or the nature of the technology itself, it could be complex. For example, machine learning, they say, but we can also say that large language models like generative AIs, which will be also embedded and will be used in the 6G, and also the complexity of information, they say, that will bring this presumption of defectiveness thing. And also when we say, as Shen again underlined, that there will be heterogeneous data flow, devices, lots of devices, lots of types of devices, lots of types of data sources will come together in a high rate. So this presumption of defectiveness will be much more discussed in later on, I assume. Yes, EU regulator followed a way that before creating a special AI regulatory framework like the AI Act, and the first version of the AI Act, and it was published, shared with the public in 2021 before it entered into force. And you know, it entered into force last year. So before that, they established a general ethical framework for trustworthy AI. And these trustworthy AI principles are followed by international bodies, as I said. And one of these international bodies is OECD. OECD also had published its ethical principles for AI in 2019, but they updated it last year in 2024, and it involves two sections, and two of them also directly linked with the responsible usage of AI for global deployment of 6G. And the title of the first section is Principles for Responsible Stewardship of Trustworthy AI, which is totally and 100% correct title, because as we said, AI cannot be responsible itself. We are responsible to steer it in a responsible way for it to be trustworthy. And here they said there must be, these are the principles for that: inclusive growth, sustainable development, and well-being. The notions that trustworthy AI should serve, they say. And it's, of course, respect for the rule of law, human rights, and democratic values. And transparency, we can see it here also, and explainability. And in the sense of cybersecurity, they say robustness, security, and safety must come first, and accountability. And secondly, it is important for global deployment of 6G, there must be full alignment between national jurisdictions, because there are lots of different jurisdictions between countries. Their judicial system sometimes are so much different from each other. So how can we manage to cooperate with each other because 6G will bring us a global data framework, and it has to be there has to be a global consensus. How do we manage a cooperation between jurisdictions? It is hard, but we have to do it. And they also underline the fact that investing in AI research and development, here they also underline the fact that for AI to be trustworthy and for us to govern it in a responsible way, we have to invest in open source AI studies. Also, we have to foster inclusive AI enabling system, leaving no one behind. And also, at the last, international cooperation for trustworthy AI is a must. And they, of course, they didn't mention 6G, but we all together know that the last one is very crucial for the global deployment of 6G. And among all the principles for ethical framework of AI in the global sense, both in the EU, in the OECDs, or in UNESCO's some declarations, on some national AI strategies, we can see nearly the same principles. Sometimes they come under different titles, different wordings, but we see one of them always there with the same wording: transparency. Transparency may be one of the most important ethical aspects for responsible steering of AI and trustworthy AI, because in order to understand and check or assess whether AI system or AI model is in full alignment with other ethical principles, or it is incompatible and is compliant with regulations, we have to know first if we are interacting with an AI system or not, or a human being. And then we can make our checks and balances after that. So transparency here, we can say that has a priority among all the principles for AI to be trustworthy. But transparency for whom we are talking about, of course. But again, first of all, we cannot ensure 100% transparency, of course, because there are some technical limits on the other hand, and on the other hand, there are some technical, for example, secrets, intellectual property rights. We cannot provide technical and legally, for example, in the sense of privacy also, we cannot have 100% transparency, but we need enough transparency. Whether we are contacting or communicating with an AI model, it will be much more hard in the age of 6G, since all the human beings also will be an integral part of 6G network as body-on sensors. There will be also AI agents, and human-to-machine, machine-to-machine interaction will be much more than of today. So transparency, therefore, will be much more important in order to ensure a reliable, responsible, and trustworthy AI. And humans in general have to know if they are interacting with an AI system. And for affected persons also, it is much more important. For example, in a provision in the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation of the EU, in Article 22, if you are a person and your data is processed solely by automatic systems, then you have right under some circumstances to demand an human intervention, for example. But in order to use this right, for example, it's just one example. First, you have to know if you're interacting with a fully automated system, such AI, for example, or not. And thirdly, transparency for developers. Maybe some developer, for example, a hospital, cannot create its own AI system. Maybe they will go through some vendors, but which vendor they will prefer. Again, here, transparency for deployers is also important, enough transparency, of course. And since we are talking about global domain, it is important that, and by the way, please warn me if I lose my time. In the global sense, regulating AI is not an easy task, of course, because there are some debates. For example, always we are hearing that AI is very complex. You cannot regulate AI, or if you regulate AI, you will hinder innovation. But it's not like that always. It depends on the regulation itself sometimes, because AI, on the other hand, plays a strategic key It has a strategic role, and no one wants to lose their competence here. So, for example, in the US nowadays, there is a debate going on. It's a very important debate, and its result will impact, for example, everywhere. We say Brussels effect when we talk about EU's legislative framework, but maybe we will see Washington effect or not, we don't know. The debate is that, as you might heard of the Big Beautiful Bill by Trump, and it's a budgetary bill actually, but it has some other kind of provisions. For example, they are planning to limit the state's regulatory power on limiting AI systems for 10 years. For example, as a state, for example, New York, you can take New York. New York has just, for example, accepted in its Senate as AI security bill. If this Big Beautiful Bill accepted as it is right now, and New York State's bill will be void. So these regulatory frameworks, even if they are about security, there is a risk that it can be banned in the both federal and state level for 10 years. Of course, this is about the United States, but it will have also impacts for the world in general. So why to regulate? Why are we trying to regulate AI? Do we have to regulate AI really? Yes, innovation is important, but even for the innovation itself, even for example, a fair market conditions for every innovator, we have to put some objective rules for everyone, beginning from, of course, security and privacy, so that AI will serve not only a bunch of people or companies, but serve all the world, and we can use it, by the way, responsible way. And in Latin, there is a phrase that qui custodies ipso custodies, who will guard the guardians. So we have to put some mechanisms also for the detectors of the AI systems and the models also. And the near future issues, what will be regulating, and in the sense of 6G, for example. Since we will integrate NTNs, non-terrestrial networks, with terrestrial networks, there will be, and actually from today, there is a need for a spectrum regulatory innovation today. So how can we merge these NTNs, and how can we give regulatory licenses, spectrum licenses, under which conditions? How can we assess their cybersecurity? So in also Hexa X2 deliverables also underlines the importance of regulatory initiative here. And since in the space domain also with the satellites, the space data will be also processed by the AI systems, these are also fundamental questions and challenges for in the sense of regulatory field also. And also yesterday, an important thing happened in the EU. EU has just published the first proposal for the Space Act. And in the Space Act, it involves the cybersecurity aspects of space elements like satellites, and which will be very important for 6G global deployment also. And we will have to find a way and how to we merge regulatory initiatives, how can we align our jurisdictions, how can we give spectrum licenses, and how can we ensure the cybersecurity and privacy of space data before global deployment of 6G. And one more near future regulatory action is on the way in the Q4 of this year. Digital Networks Act will be on the scene, and this is also important for 6G, and it will involve a deadline for copper networks by 2030, which is the year of the deployment of 6G, and it will try to balance the EU's and the member states' national interest on the sense of spectrum. And it will involve some major cybersecurity provisions on 5G and 6G. So when we say that AI is an enabling 6G is an AI-enabled network. These regulatory frameworks, which along the AI Act and Data Protection Act in the EU, also will be important for the 6G's global deployment and also the usage of the AI in a responsible way for ensuring security, because security also is an element, core element, one of the core elements for responsible AI usage. Thank you very much. You can contact me here. Gracias. Teşekkürler.
Oh, thank you so much, Başak. We have some questions, but if you put your contact there, maybe the people can contact you. I will ask you just one question, yeah, because we have several. What aspects should be prioritized when creating a responsible regulatory framework for IE in 6G?
Which one is the most important, Demi?
Yeah, what aspects should be prioritized? How you put the priority there when you create a responsibility?
Yes, it's a beautiful question. Thank you. Actually, since AI based on the data itself, any regulatory framework touching the privacy and security of data is vital. So as the European Union's AI Act says that the AI Act is a complementary to the GDPR when it comes to data processing by AI, data protection regulation and cybersecurity frameworks, in my opinion, are much more important than the others.
Okay, thank you, Professor Başak. It's very important your presentation, because now we need to know about everything, because everyone is talking about the regulation, how the AI we need to use everything. We have something, Mariela Medina, maybe some questions. Mariela. A ver, Mariela, just let me. No, it's not saying anything. Let me see them.
Bart is raising hand, I guess.
Yes, since Mariela is fixing her, I guess, technical problems, I have a comment. Yeah, I have a comment and a question. I was very happy to see this familiar quote, "Who will guide the guardians?" Because I was thinking about this. At some stage, we had a problem with like the police. So who's policing the police, right? And there are structures in the country that can do this. So it reminds me of a case in Poland where the police have purchased a invigilatory software that was, of course, used not only for invigilation of potential crime, but also the invigilation of politicians and the others. But leaving that aside, this is just my comment. This is very important, that you need to police the police and you need to guard the guardians, and who is doing this. The question is, you are operating in Turkey, so you will be familiar with what's happening in your country, but I guess similar things are happening in other countries. So when GDPR came out and it became a thing, and let me maybe show my camera. Hi. When GDPR became a thing, everyone panicked. So nobody really know what's going on, how to implement this, what are the implications. Everyone was afraid of the fines, except maybe the big companies that were untouched for the first beginning of the GDPR. The AI Act is sort of a successor. Well, not a successor, but another act that we needed that works in parallel. So do you see anything in Turkey that is happening in the country level? So is there like anything between people and the AI act that we need on the country level? So do people already know where to complain? For example, if someone is in breach with the AI Act, because with GDPR, it wasn't so obvious until the country of Poland, for example. In Ireland, it was the same thing. Until the country did very big marketing about this, people didn't even know which department they're supposed to complain. Is it the Department of Communication? Is it the Department of Human Rights? Is it the local councils? So do you see how like any changes in the country level that are happening to make sure that AI Act is enforced?
Thank you. Yes, in Turkey, we are not a member country, but we are a candidate country. So we have to align our legislation according to the EU's legislative framework, like we did in Labor Act, for example, like we did in Intellectual Property Act. And there is a commission established at the ministry level, and they are planning to make an upward proposal, for example, next year in the AI sense of AI Act. It will be in full alignment with the EU's, I believe. But yes, is there a need? But before that, even we are a candidate country, so because that according to the agreement between us and the EU, we have to align our legislative framework. But secondly, we have very tight commercial relationships. So, for example, especially in medical sector, there are lots of Turkish companies that providing AI embedded services, and they are planning to, for example, enter into the EU market, or already they are in the EU market and they are planning to make some extra product and services with AI and they have to be in alignment again with the EU's AI Act, like each country. And we have a GDPR kind of regulation and personal data protection law of Turkey, and the communication is provided us that we know, even non-legal persons or not technical persons, we know that now that where to go if we think that our data is processed illegally. For example, we have to go to the data processor first, and then we have to go to the data protection board of our country, and they make some assessment and checks and balances, and they give fines if they say that there's a breach of this act. But of course, in the daily life, no. No. In the daily life, we give always constantly giving consents. And one of the most important things is here, like in the beginning of the industrial revolution, there are machineries came into the factories, and now they could use even child labor with them. They will just pull a thing, for example, and there were some bad consequences in the factories and in the work safety and healthy issues. And then they make some regulatory initiative in the UK. They put forward Factory Act. But according to Factory Act, you have to obey the rules, and these rules only can be complied by big factories. So that bigger ones take the little ones, so it served for monopolies. We have to remember this history also.
Yes, you also reminded me about something that a lot of people forget, that we have to comply with the AI Act, but there's actually specific deadlines for this. So this is what people forget. It's not as lean as GDPR. So for example, there are some items like I remember biometrics. So if you have some kind of biometrics use in, for example, especially like public settings, then you had to comply with the AI Act. This deadline is already passed. This was like end of 2024. And then you had some like high risk systems, like, I don't know, like data governance logging. And the deadline, and it's next year, August. And they, for different stakeholders and different applications, there are different deadlines, but this is like next year August more. And I would love to believe that every public, at least, application that is developed and deployed by cities and councils, local governments complies with this. But I believe this is a wishful wish, especially for smaller countries, smaller cities that don't have this capability even to test everything under the AI Act from the AI Act perspective. So I think people really very often forget about the actual deadlines, and this is, I think, no joke. And I think hopefully, especially the big companies and the governments will adhere to this. But of course, we are talking about EU and that's all the candidate countries and so on. So yeah, thanks for this answer. I think this was very interesting presentation, especially for computer scientists that doesn't know a lot about law. But this is the essence of this project, I think, right? For us to,
Yes.
for you to open eyes of computer scientists, and maybe you can learn something from us. Yeah.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
I think this is a perfect example of that collaboration. Okay, thanks a lot, Başak. I appreciate
Thank
this.
you.
Great presentation.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you, Başak. Thank you, Bert.